come up, we have recently started working on that, is now Government of India has initiated a process, actually a campaign where the 5,36,000 fair price shops in the country where the people are getting their food grain entitlements, they are putting the POS terminal, their micro ATMs type of device they are putting up. So we have actually started working on that, and Dr. Piyush is also, Mr. Piyush has also participated in few of the meetings, where we are now enabling this 5,36,000 points as well. How these can be upgraded, because the investment is already being made into that. So may not be all 5,36,000, but a very large number of these can be, you see, enabled to give the last mile reach. I think we are moving in the right direction, but certainly there is a lot more to be done. Let's hear from others.
Yeah, thank you, Gupta. Thank you very much. See, as Mr. Gupta said, the technology framework has already been enabled in all formats of delivery. And in order to create sustainability of these, what is required is to enable the government to deliver the direct benefit transfer. And there is no person better than Mr. Piyush, who heads the DBT mission in the Cabinet Secretariat. And he will share what has happened so far in terms of enabling the direct benefit transfer and what is the roadmap, so that these access points, whether they are in the ration shop or common service center or post office, really become viable and sustainable because of the number of transactions we generate. Mr. Piyush.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. First of all, I'd like to compliment the Digital India team to have, not only for this conference, but the theme on the financial inclusion, which I believe for next, the entire period of 1 week is going to play out. And the topic for the discussion itself is very germane to what government has been doing, and it's a nice panel across different stakeholders who have been put together here. As Dr. Tyagi had mentioned, the current demonetization exercise is a case in point in a larger direction which the government has been taking. DBT mission, of course, DBT started in Government of India in January 2013. But with the financial inclusion drive, which was the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which a major fillip was given from July 2014, immediately after the change of government, till in the 6 months period in January, where very the fantastic results were often have been quoted. 10 crore accounts. Today there are more than 22 crore accounts. So the emphasis from the financial sector side has been to bring everybody within the banking fold. Of course, very related or very close to that, to the Aadhaar and Jan Dhan, is the direct benefit transfer, where government is also using these technology platforms to deliver the services across. And in that sense, direct benefit transfer, because of these initiative, has grown by leaps and bounds in this period. If you look at the figures, today we have, since DBT inception, delivered almost about 1,30,000 crore of benefits to nearly about 30 crore beneficiaries across the country. So that itself shows that a substantial portion of the population, the target population, poor people, have been brought within the formal fold. But of course, as part of the DBT mission, we are also steering different different arms of the government to come together to look at the problem of financial inclusion in a much more comprehensive manner. As numbers have already been thrown or given by NPCI and from the CSC side, almost, we are talking about 2,50,000 plus gram panchayats and nearly 6 lakh villages. We have done an exercise where we find that to service all across throughout the length and breadth of the country, there are a sufficient number of enablers or points of presence, if we can call them, are available. As mentioned by Mr. Gupta, that we have almost 5,36,000 plus fair price shops which are coming within the digital framework. Today around 1,60,000 FP shops are already on this map, and going forward in this financial year, by 31st March 2017, that is almost 3 lakh FP shops are coming under this net. Similarly, the target is that by March 2018, all these, FP shops will be on the electronic framework, which is meaning thereby that all the beneficiaries or the population catered to buy these FP shops, fair price shops, will be digitized, will be linked to the Aadhaar, and all these points will be having EPOS device, what is called as the points of sale device, where authentication, Aadhaar authentication will be possible. So once that happens, these points of presence, because these people are already doing local transaction, the Kinara shops, or so to say, they can very easily be co-opted for as a extended arm of the banking facility. So the brick and mortar branch approach will not, is not a option in a country of India's size. As mentioned by Dr. Tyagi, we have 60,000 branches, but in rural India it's about 43,000 branches. So to cover all these 6 lakh habitations or 250,000 major panchayats, that is not a possibility. So essentially we are looking at other options possible. So one is the fair price shop, then is the CSC itself, more than 2 lakh points are there. Of course, though within the banking framework there are certain challenges which we are trying to resolve. Today about 30,000 of them are under the financial services, but with RBI we are in discussion that how we can have the interbanking operability, or how we can smoothen out or some of the hiccups to make that happen in a very large manner. So with these 2 lakh points of presence, the major problem of financial inclusion will be addressed. Another interesting development in this field is the India Post Payment Banks. As you are aware that already the sub post offices, SPOs, around 25,000 are there in the country. Today 23,800 sub post offices, SPOs are on the digital framework. They are meaning thereby that they are under the core banking solution. The target is that by this financial year, all the branch post offices, BPOs, will be working as the extension of the sub post offices. 650 district wise, we have more than 600 districts in the country. So 650 district headquarters post payment banks will be, the headquarters will be, post offices will be converted into the post payment banks. And the Grameen Dak Sevaks, which are about 1,40,000 plus, with the micro ATMs, the mobile ATMs, both the technology today is there with the Aadhaar authentication and through a card swipe. So interoperability of the banks will be there. So these, the Grameen Dak Sevaks can go to the door-to-door delivery for the financial services. So those points are coming up. The other interesting development is the payment bank licenses which RBI has given. Almost 7 payment banks linked to the mobile technology are coming up. So with these kind of developments taking place, we do hope that if for 600,000 villages, that is 6 lakh villages or habitations in the country, there will be at least matching. We have by one count multiple services, financial service points at each village. So we are essentially looking at at least 2-3 different, the mobile operators, the post payment banks, the CSCs, the banking correspondent BCs working within the ecosystem, so that each habitation has at least 2 or 3 financial transaction point. And the way forward coming out of the latest drive of the demonetization is also to move on a digital payment framework, which is hassle free and which is much better accounted for. The future is definitely there, where we do envisage that all these, even the small payments can, today technology has shown through the Paytms and other kind of innovations, that small payments also of Kinara shops and 100 rupees, less than 100 rupees payments also can be brought on the network. 2 important points on this would be, one is the good connectivity, the NOFM, which was sluggish, and now government is giving a major push. So we do hope that by 2018 that will also be coming up to the level. Some of the concerned areas like the northeastern states and some of the mountain or forest areas, Naxal affected areas where connectivities are a problem, we are in touch with the state governments. Chhattisgarh, for example, is looking at a Bastar net, its own local net, for doing those kind of innovations. So with these kind of technology options coming in, I am very, very confident that by 2018 we are going to witness a sea change in the the basic financial transaction mode. And that is where the mandate of the DBT or the will of the government today to convert all these payment systems into hassle-free and empower the citizen is going to be realized. And collectively we are working on that, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve that as a team.
Thank you, Piyush ji. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Krishnan, whose organization has done a lot of research work and understood the entire system of how financial inclusive society is created, not only in India, but they have also an experience from abroad. We'll request him, see, one of the challenges for rural India is to make this point of presence or the access point financially viable. In such a low turnout transaction ratio and low population hinterlands, what is the solution? Do we really have a solution or a model in which these point of presence becomes commercially viable and sustainable in order to enable people to access financial services?
Yeah. You see, what we need to look at is today with this digital ecosystem, it's a huge opportunity space that's been opened up. One is that even in these Jan-Dhan accounts, which are actually very small value accounts, collectively, before this demonetization drive, if you see, 44,000 crores was deposited by the poor. So individually, every poor person is small, but collectively, they're a huge opportunity space. And they have not even just, they have only started using the accounts now, and they'll start using much more. And again, there are crores of small business establishments in the rural areas, which also are today not getting any loans, any credit or anything. So if the only way in which we can make a business model for transacting for all these people viable is to do it digitally. Now, government has launched a massive DBT program, but the DBT program to really kick off, the money when it reaches the accounts will then have to be transacted electronically locally. Only then it will be viable, because every person going and withdrawing 100, 200 rupees and the cost of withdrawal itself becoming 10 to 15 rupees is really not viable. So to make it viable, what we need is to effectively leverage the digital payments ecosystem that NPCI has put in place. If we can make the new tools which NPCI has put on the ground, like unified payments interfaces, UPIs and other forms of digital payments, if we can make them kick off and trigger off on the ground, and if people can start transacting digitally, the money which they receive in their bank accounts and locally in the villages and in the towns, then we can really trigger a major revolution in the country. What are the things it can do? One is that when people transact locally in their local shops and all that, the shops which are accepting electronic payments will be able to generate transaction histories. So they'll be able to get credit. Today, a small shop does not get any credit because the bank has no visibility on its cash flows. So tomorrow, if you start transacting electronically with all these shops, in even small value transactions, then all these small establishments will really be able to leverage the amount of credit which it can get from the banks. It will be able to get the credits tomorrow. Again, when people start spending electronically, you have an opportunity for studying their spending patterns. The problem with this financial inclusion today is that all the products which the banks have, all these products have been made for the financially included segments. The delivery models of the banks are also for the financially included segments. So this whole space has to be redesigned for the excluded people. And the redesign can happen if you know the patterns. How are the poor people spending? What is their financial diary today? What is it that he is getting today? Where he is spending it? When you get an insight into this, then banks can start designing products specifically for that segment. Not superimpose the products of the rich and included segments onto the poor. There are specific products you have to make for the poor by analyzing their cash flows. Again, by designing delivery mechanisms for the small shops and establishments based on their transaction histories, again, banks can create interesting products for credits for these small shops. Therefore, together, the small consumer and the small shops and the establishments, together they can create an ecosystem of digital transactions which the banks can then use these transaction histories to give them credits and to support them in various ways. So I think the basic ecosystem that has been put in place by the NPCI can really go a long way in triggering these cashless transactions. And that is the only way the DBT mechanism can also come to life, because for the money to reach there, and then the money has to get transacted electronically in the villages and the small towns. So that is a scenario that we need to look at. The second part which I would like to say about viability is that a lot of these transactions, and if you want some credit to be given to a small shop or to people, there's a huge amount of transaction costs in all this because of the paper and the amount of other things involved. So if you can leverage the new mechanisms like eKYC, if you can use DigiLockers, if you can use e-signatures, these are new things which have been brought in by the government of India. By leveraging all this, you can actually go almost paperless. And when you go paperless, you can really lower the transaction costs, and therefore small value credit can become really viable. you can create an effective model for even giving 2,000 rupee, 3,000 rupee credit to people based on their transaction histories. Otherwise, if you want to do it over paper and processing of paper, it will never be viable. So today we have a very exciting possibility. We have created not just payment infrastructure, but under Digital India, you also created other mechanisms like e-signature and DigiLockers and all of this. All of this, when it comes together, we can create interesting delivery models and interesting products for the financially excluded segments. So we are just starting now. I mean, there's a whole lot of scope for innovations for us to be able to leverage this ecosystem that's coming into place.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think 2 points come very clearly. One, of course, relates to the technology which is available. The second is the government's ambition to do DBT and also deliver it close to the place where people live. That means create access point very close to the citizen where they live in. And we have today Indus Bank, which, as you said, technology-wise can use Indus Bank. Probably is the first bank which has created a current account of such a large population of common service center operators without the person really going to a bank branch. All electronic, and they've done it. But it's a good bank with no technology, and they will also have to. I have also shared that all the common service centers, they have decided to make business correspondent. How does the business correspondent model works in India, whether it be sustainable or not, it's a challenge to come. But I think conceptually they are very clear. These banks has taken a lot of innovative works, as I said, using technology without physical movement of papers, and also meeting all the regulatory requirements without diluting the regulatory part of it. So we have Mr. Sharda from Indus Bank, and we'd like him to share what are the bank's challenges in order to take this forward across the country, especially in rural India.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. Good evening. I think I have a very esteemed panelist list with me, and I'm a poor retail banker. But nonetheless, we are in a country as such, we are in a very interesting stage of things, We have 1.2 billion, and I'm trying to use Nandan Nadgini's last presentation on Digital India, where he says that we have 1.2 billion to 1.3 billion people. We have almost a billion cell phones, and we have only 40 million people who have accounts. That was the starting point of digitalization financial services. So today, with the Jan Dhan Yojana coming in, I think the number of accounts has definitely gone up. I think about 70 million accounts are there, right, sir? Yeah, 70 million accounts have come to, but you still have about maybe more than population of Europe, America put together. We have still that many people to cover. That is the point. How do we do it? Digitalization is the only way to get to the last mile. We as a bank, for example, IndusInd Bank is tied up with CSC to use the centers as of our business correspondents. Secondly, we also await the RBI clarification. The note is already out, wherein the definition of a bank branch will be changed. By January, the new guidelines for branches will come in, wherein you can have, because of all these payment banks coming up, all these other services which are coming up, a lot will change over the next 3-4 months. So probably from January onwards, hopefully, or February, let's say, we will not need to have a physical branch. We can have any center which provides financial services for up to 4 hours in a day can be a bank branch. More importantly, with and more smartphones coming and replacing the normal phones, people will have the bank branch in their own hand. The phone is the bank branch. That is the future. When you look at any foreign countries, especially England, US, where they have opened exclusively electronic banks like Moen Bank, Adam Bank, and a couple of other banks, the mobile is the branch. The mobile becomes your branch. Everything you can do on the mobile, because probably they have much more internet access than us in India, but also in spite of not being able to provide internet access to a lot of villages, there is another technology wherein if you put a chip on the top of there's a small chip which comes on top of a SIM, put that on, and any bank, any phone, analog phone or non-digital, internet connected phone can become a bank branch, because the entire menu, it's a menu driven thing. All he has to do is press on it, the SMS will go to the bank, and your response will come saying that yes, the amount has been debited for your DTH payment or for your bill payment, or you want to transfer money. Everything can be done on non-digital mobile also, or non-internet connected mobile also. So that is the next technology which is coming in. It's already there in some banks. We are also experimenting and soon be introducing cross. The whole idea to get to so many customers is basically to be able to provide technology. NPCI has been the pioneer. I think the work done by NPCI is commendable, not only for India, but I think that technology can be used across the world. Another example of mobile technology is Kenya. If you go to Kenya or go to Africa, majority of the payments, I think 85 to 90% of the payments in South Africa and African countries happen on mobile. Same is the case in Philippines. We are a little bit behind, but I think the way we are catching up, and thanks to the population we have, the numbers we have, we will outreach everybody. Already I think the number of transactions done on the mobile in India are far in excess of that even in the US. This is some digital data which I read. The number of transactions done on mobile in India are in excess of that done in US. Imagine. That is the power of a mobile phone which is coming up. So again telling you the challenge which was there some 10 years back when the internet was slow, the internet could not reach so many areas. I think that will all disappear in the next 5 to 10 years. You will be able to see people having accounts in the remotest of locations in India, and banks like us, I think we are just going to, I think, help those to make the Indian government mission successful. That's what I can tell you. The opportunity is amazing. As doctor said that there are 44,000 crores, which is there's about 11 billion, let's say about $10 billion already there in the accounts. And with this demonetization happening right now, the bank balances have increased by almost 200 lakh crores in 4 days. So you can imagine the opportunity which is there for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think few of the things which needs consideration of the panelists is what are we suggesting? What is the way forward? We have now the framework, we have the wherewithal, we have also the technology to a large extent. What do we do next? One of course remains saying that how do we try and create good sustainable models? Keeping in view the citizen gets the benefit of financial inclusion. One is of course opening an account, but not only opening an account, he also need, as was rightly said, why don't we design products which are also assets for the bank, not only liabilities, but liability is one tech part of the story, but can we design products which are so conducive to that based on the experiences and try and cater it. The second is how do we create interoperable unified systems, sustainable financial system. If it's an assisted format, you need sustainability. That's why the BC model did not work. Is there a recommendation that today banks pay money to a BC? Is there a way that citizens start paying to the BC? Is there a way, possibility to try and think of, rather than a bank paying, the bank will not open BC, and that's why the bank and the BC doesn't have really a good cohesive environment. 5,000 rupees, etc. is not a real good solution to sustain. If the citizen, when everybody pays to a transaction, that transaction, the citizen also pays for the transaction is done through BC. Then it becomes really good because the citizen also benefited. He's going to the branch to travel 25 kilometers or 10 kilometers and spending time and resources. Will he be paying to pay a small charge to the BC who is very close to his house and then sustain the model? So few things, and of course the white label business correspondent. If there are white label ATMs, why can't there be white label BCs? Why should a BC be attached to a bank? Is there a need to attach a BC to a bank? Or he can be considered as a white label BC which operate for all banks? Few things, and any of the panelists can throw light on some of the things which are needed for policy interventions at the government level.
So on rural credit, I can tell you, you're saying that unless there is some record of cash flows, it is impossible to give credit to anybody because there is no CIBIL score, there is no history at all, there is no bank account first of all. So that's why if we have an e-payment ecosystem which is sustaining payments between, let's say, a buyer seller, even if he goes and buys milk and he has to pay 10 rupees or 20, 30, 40 rupees, whatever is the cost of milk, to the shop owner, and he can do the transaction digitally. There's the record. He's making the payment, the shop owner is getting the money. So there is there's a clear, clear directive where the money is going from or flowing from. Similarly, when the shop owner buys the milk from the doodhwala, he will pay him. When the doodhwala buys something, he will pay him. So there is a full mapping which is.
How much time the bank will take in order to design a product?
So the products are already there. It's just that people have to start using it. for the bank to be able to, if I have to lend, today if I have to lend somebody, let's say 20,000, 30,000 rupees, I use the business correspondent model because that's more viable in terms of lending. But when I start lending directly to the shop owner, then I have to have some system of recording. How do I ensure that, whether he runs away, is not going to run away because he's been in that area forever. He needs to have some security of, our payments are actually coming in, or we have already seen what has happened. We have 78% of transactions happening in the country in cash.
Yeah, actually, I think it's a problem of the classic problem of the chicken and versus egg problem. Unless it becomes, it reaches a certain critical mass and there is a viability that kicks in. Commercial banks are not going to take it up, or even the public sector banks, for example, because they are looking at it as a commercial transaction rather than a public good. So from that perspective, the banks on its own will not come in till the point that viability comes in, and viability will not come in unless the proper environment or sustainability models are given in. So there is definitely a gap, but at the policy making level, we are fully conscious of this gap, and the fact that still some more work needs to be done in that direction. As we were telling you that, we were discussing just now that there are quite many independent things happening in different directions. Now, because financial sector itself is a huge sector, and there are a lot of stakeholders, lot of players at different levels who have to be tied in the system. Examples, initiatives like the post-payment banks, or the fact that DBT account government is mandating that every transaction or amount has to go to the banks, and from the banks it has to be delivered to the steps. Initiatives like the FP shops in next 1 year, 2 years coming in. Initiatives like the National Optical Fiber Network to be streamlined for having a certain level of the connectivity service to be provided there. So these are various kind of initiatives that are happening. Luckily, we are sitting in a very, very positive policy environment. At the highest level, at the government, central government level, there is a appreciation of the fact that this has to come in. The drive is coming. In fact, it's the other way, from top to down, because different stakeholders are being nudged into taking actions, and those have to come together. Now, initiatives like the bank, which the RBI is coming up in next January to enable the branch network, or the post payment bank systems are falling in place with the current exercise of demonetization also. This is definitely the way that we have to travel. But as you have rightly pointed out, that there is a lot of convergence that needs to be done, and government is looking at that.
One other thing, Mr. Gupta, can I ask you, see, with so much of cash economy, the mindset need to change. People mindset, even the technology is there, the change in mindset. Is it possible for government to give a mandate or try and put a direction that no transaction above a certain limit, maybe 5,000 or 10,000, will be allowed in cash form? Then the whole system works. Then it works very well. It's to the benefit of everybody. You're saying not more than 5,000 rupees transaction can be legally permissible to be done in cash form.
So let me tell you this, impact of the demonetization. We were having approximately 30 lakhs transactions every day on ATMs of RuPay cards. 30 lakhs transactions on ATMs in RuPay cards, and 2 lakh transactions at POS. In last 4 days, we are having 2 lakhs has gone to 50 lakhs. 2 lakh has gone to 50 lakhs. There are 50 lakhs transactions every day on POS are happening now. So the impact is before you. But we at NPCI believe that financial inclusion technology is very important for financial inclusion. And the scope of the financial inclusion is not limited to opening the account of the excluded people, getting the direct benefit transfer into them, and then making them to withdraw that money. It is much beyond that. Meaning thereby that each citizen of the country should be able to transact in a digital environment at a minimal cost. I will give you a few examples of the project which we are working and which are likely to come in next 1 year. Electronic toll collection. 1 lakh crore every year is wasted just in waiting in the rows, the toll plazas, just by fuel and the idle time that is being wasted. 1 lakh crore is being wasted every year only on this. You come to the bill payment systems. And 95% of those are being paid in cash. You see the impact of withdrawing cash from the ATM. Person goes to an ATM, withdraw the cash, spend at 10 places, and then wherever he deposits the money, again it goes to that same system. And there are 60 million transactions happening every day on ATMs. 50 to 60 million transactions happening. These 50 to 60 million transactions, अगर एक ट्रांजेक्शन को 1 घंटा भी लगाए, 15 मिनट वो कैश विड्रा करने में लगाता है, उसके बाद 10 जगह में जाके वो खरीदता है सामान, उसके बाद जिसको वो देता है वो आगे जमा कराता है. So what is the impact of this all cash denominated transactions? It is hugely costly proposition for the country, loss of productivity, loss of money, law and order situation. There's a whole lot of issue. You see the people wasting their time in standing in queues to buy the tickets. Whether it is a railway ticket, whether it is a metro ticket, whether it is a bus ticket or somewhere else. So we are working on this project. Now we have been mandated by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to create a system where a uniform system of electronic toll collection is there, so that the vehicle does not have to wait. Even there is no money, vehicle will pass on. The money will be recovered later on. We have already started working on it. Next 2 months the project will be on. Like we have been also given a mandate by Reserve Bank of India to create a Bharat Bill payment systems. So the pan-India level Bharat Bill payment system is being created. It has already been launched. The pilot has already been launched. In next 2 months the main system will be launched. Ministry of Urban Development, everybody is working toward that. Ministry of Urban Development has given us a task to build the National Common Mobility Card, where there is no need for a person to stand in queue anywhere to buy the ticket. If you have the card with the National Common Mobility Card specification, you can go to any public transport system and use it without standing in queue anything. It's a contactless payment, just tap and go and you go away. The money is debited to your account automatically, whatsoever you use. So those systems are in place. So what I am trying to say is that work is on, and there's a lot more to do, as rightly said, lot more to do, and we have to devise the product to suit the need of the people. But the work has already started in this direction.
Coming to your point, the point is that all these initiatives are at different levels which are happening. But whether government can mandate, let's say 5,000 rupees above specifically, I am sure that is going to be the way forward. But before that happens, again, we are not talking of, let's say, 8 cities or the entire country. We have to have a very a reliable network system. We are talking of villages where you have to climb on a tree to get 2G or some connection. So those are points of infrastructure improvement which are the bottlenecks, and I am sure next 2 years these are going to happen. So going forward, let's say if we fast forward in 2020 or 2025, this is the way. In fact, by 20, what you are saying that above 5,000, and by 2025, everything. I mean, time will come when people will realize that paper money is actually a very costly proposition, and a much more efficient way of transacting these things are electronically. So that is where it is.
5,000 thing. One point I was meant to make. See, government should start subsidizing cash. Today, government is subsidizing cash. When you say 5 free withdrawals every month, it means the cost of one withdrawal is 20 rupees. So it's 100 rupees per bank account per month the government or the banks are subsidizing. So if you take 10 crore accounts, it's actually 1,000 crores. 1,000 crores of subsidy, you are subsidizing cash. which, as he has said, is the most inefficient thing to do.
Not only that,
So
in
you
fact-
should be subsidizing something efficient. Why are you subsidizing something inefficient?
In fact, it's the other way also. The other part is that today electronic transaction, there is a charge that if you
Correct.
buy a ticket on a cinema hall through online, you are paying a service charge, extra charge.
So it's a
So
double whammy.
it's the other way.
Double
So-
whammy. On one side, you
I
are
think the
penalizing the efficient.
point is very well taken. I think it is need for to reconsider what you are subsidizing. There is no need to subsidize, and the ATM, the poor man doesn't go to the ATM.
Yes. Yes.
In John, with the ATM cards are not for the poorest of the poor.
No, you can give a limit. You can say up to 5,000, whatever you draw, which is a poor man's limit of 10,000, it is free. After that, you start paying.
If you draw from the cash, you should be paying more, and if you are paying on electronic, it should be. So that is where the policy
I
correction.
think one point which emerges very clearly that there is probably a reorientation, rethinking in terms of how we are delivering services.
So I think the basic thing in all this is that you first need to have an account where you can transfer the money from. Problem with us, with the country, is that 80% of the people have hoards of cash. And that has to go.
That's right.
Unless that comes into the banking system, all this infrastructure.
वो तो चला
this
गया
is-
ना 5,000.
This is exactly
So,
what is
to,
Accumulated.
should have happened long time earlier, but then better late than never.
Okay.
so
okay.
to answer your question, that 5,000 rupees or something of that I missed. You see, there are two committees set up by Government of India. One committee is under the Secretary DPAM, and the other committee is under Mr. Ratan Patel, former Finance Secretary. And both committees are working on earlier one is working on short-term measures, and later one is working on medium and long-term measures, where they are actually discussing, and we are part of both the committees, where it is being discussed to have a limit on the transaction size. But 5,000 is really not being appreciated, although I propose that.
No,
But it is not being
Going
appreciated.
forward, it is
But
going
even
to
if it comes to 10,000, 25,000, I think it will mean a lot.
The point is the technology is one, but the changing culture will need a mandate. Changing culture will not
I
allow
said,
technology.
I told you, no,
Takes
this
time.
mandate is already, you see this demonetization.
How many transactions went up 10 times?
2 lakh to 50 lakhs, 25 times.
People are all using cards.
Okay. Can we have, is there any question or somebody ask question and answers?
Yeah, I have one question. In fact, Mr. Gupta started with the SSA piece, right? And we have been talking to DFS on a lot of issues related to this SSA. So what happens is that probably banks are only focusing on SSA. So close to around 1,25,000 or 26,000 SSAs that you talked about. So we were actually wondering when we talk about the PDS piece, wherein there are more than 5 lakh such outlets which would be actually doing the financial transaction, will that issue of SSA and those 5 lakh, so will that be a problem? Because we have been dealing with banks on this SSA piece, and they are hardly interested in giving these codes to the centers, right? So we have close to around 1 lakh. I think 30,000 centers, those who are ready today, all of them are looking for a banking piece, but banks are not willing to give us the code. So will that create a clash with when the PDS piece starts?
No, I don't think that will create a clash. It does not appear to me, because you see the canvas is so large and potential is so huge, and there is a place for everybody.
No, but there is a point. You see, we have taken up with RBI. The problem is that, you see, sub-service area or service area approach, which the banking system had put in, it was of the 10 years vintage back when, you know, they were limited banks, and as a social responsibility, banks were required to cover the entire country, and therefore in absence of any other financial model, it was said that all the banks, as part of their corporate social responsibility, will be divided into for priority sector lending. This is the agriculture sector, and therefore SLBC and DLBC approach was adopted. Now technology has brought in the example of the fair price shop, or the post payment banks, or the mobile banking which is coming up, or the CSC. So these were factors which were not there as part of the SSA. So the SSA already, the RBI, there is a team which is looking at it, and with the changing dynamics which is very fast changing, the need for having SSA itself, when you have these financial points of presence, is something which will be looked into. Another point which that was there, that 17 million, let me correct that, actually it is 220 million bank, 22 crores, that was accounts, and earlier accounts are 35 crores, 350 million, with total country today, there are 850 million bank accounts, 85 crore, and 550 million unique accounts. You know, there are multiple accounts. If you so yeah, so now 550 million accounts means if you look at the population of 1.4 billion, but the families are 350 million families into 4 factor. So today coverage bank account wise with Jan Dhan is fairly large. I mean almost everybody, 90% of the population, including the vulnerable section or the last mile also, are having a bank account. Now with the financial points of presence and all, the surface area this approach has to fundamentally undergo a change, and that will happen. I mean, it's RBI that, you know, any technology, any policy level change requires certain amount of deliberation which is happening, but going forward we are also pushing for it and it will be taken.
Rishi, do you like to thank the Prime Minister for doing what he's done?
Sir, I would like to discuss about those tribal people, or which are not even under your fair price shop, or don't even have access to your kirana stores also. Even today they are doing, they are still working, exchanging their goods with a local market system, which in itself is organized. But for a person who is approaching this market, most of the time he is exchanging stuff. He still buys salt in return, in exchange for the forest produce that he gets, which finally we get as medicinal products and all. And they are so far away from mainstream. Even I have worked in a tribal area for which I had to walk 5 kilometers from the main road. So they don't have access to any bank, ATM, I'm sure. I mean, they wouldn't even know what to do with it. And it's not a small section, it's a huge section. So how are we planning to mainstream then, sir?
Which state are you talking about?
Sir, this is, right now I'm talking about Bastar, but there are many such
so actually,
tribal areas.
Tribal areas, you see, first point is that when we talk of 5 lakh, 5 lakh 36,000 fair price shop, let me assure you that even in the remotest of the areas, like in Andhra Pradesh tribal areas, ITDAs are there, plus Bastar itself, or let's say northeastern region also, I can assure you that fairly a large coverage of fair price shop system exists, in the sense that at least the rice or which is being distributed under the PDS system reaches those points. Even if places like where people have to walk for 36 hours also, there are these points of presence which are there. Government has, after 70 years at least, that we have contacts, and except for Jarwas or let's say Andaman Nicobar, where they are prohibited and there are issues and all, they are normally being covered. But your point is well taken, that you see, in fact that is the point I was saying, that connectivity, when we talk about, we should not be looking at let's say 8 major cities or 500 cities. It is, when you talk of the country, today also northeast states, 7 states and Sikkim, there is a problem because hill and all those banks are looking at. In fact, next week we are going for a conference there for this connectivity and all, we're looking at it. Bastar or other some dense forest areas where this signal connectivity is a problem. Now, while we are pushing for the good reliable connectivity infrastructure to be coming up by 2018, but still it may take another 2 years time for for a good coverage, reasonable coverage to be coming up. I was in Lakshadweep last week, and even the 10 habited islands have fairly good connection of the BSNL. Other operators, although do not exist there. The point there being that even in the remotest of area today, with satellite and all uplinks and all, it is possible, undersea links to Andaman and Lakshadweep we are talking. So concomitantly many things are happening. While 2018 we should be able to cover 90% of the area with a good connectivity, but government is also looking at the last mile issues, where by 2020 that will be coming up. So when we talk about things, we are saying that major areas, let us not wait for that to happen. While that happens, we should at least bring these main part of it on the digital network and see how much we will be pushing for. So we have to have a multi-pronged approach for
yes, sir. I think at the same time we have to respect the traditional market system also, and the way these people behave. As sir mentioned, that the change, it's different how we accept and how we bring about that change at different levels. Our level of acceptance is different. We can change to different operating systems also.
Anyone who has any other question? Anybody who wants to ask a question? Otherwise we close that part. If there are no questions, see, anyone who want to add something or something? What has emerged is that technology framework does exist. There is a need to create 6 lakhs access point with the 6 lakh villages. The thinking process in the government has to be in terms of, I think, changing the banking scenario, where the banks looks at BT, as she said, service area approach. I think they need to probably demolish the SLBC and the DLCC. There is no need. There are old organization structure which does not go with the present system of technology. Then they also need to create a BCE as part of their business. Today they think BCE is a liability. They actually not only they create liability for the in terms of deposit, but they also think it's a liability. So the very few banks, I think State Bank of India probably and the Bank of Baroda are two banks who thinks the BC is a business, or J&K Bank who does both BC and BF activity. Unless you tie and bank and merge this as business correspondent or any format, they are part of a business activity. Paytm probably will look at differently. Paytm look these outlets as their business. Banks do not look. So there is a need to change the mindset in the bank, both in terms of what they're doing presently and how they want to perceive otherwise they'll be in any case a problem because the competition is going to be phenomenal. Banks need to revive. The products need to be redesigned not only for liabilities but also for assets, and a very simple format without involving a piece of paper. You can give 10,000 rupees without asking too much of questions. Today is hell. Even 10,000 rupees is hell for a person to get from banking. You may design whatever mechanism, but don't ask him to go anywhere and try and insulate him from going to any place or through intermediaries not getting assets. With that scenario, probably the things look better, and of course the government need to mandate. I think we do believe that if 3 lakh crore has to be distributed through DBT, there is a viability, but then people's mindset, as I said, disincentivize cash withdrawal and incentivize electronic delivery format. Also try and create mandates that beyond the point you cannot, about 5,000 or 10,000 rupees, you cannot do transactions legally in this country without on cash basis. This will change the culture, this will change the whole scenario, and this will serve the objective of what is envisaged by government in various formats. And thank you very much, and give a clap to all the panelists and then a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I would request Dr. Tyagi to actually give mementos to all the panelists as a token of appreciation. Please come. To Sanjay, Mr. Piyush. Mr. Gupta from NPCI. Mr. Krishnan from CDFI. Mr. Sanjay Sharda from IndusInd Bank. I would request Mr. Piyush Kumar to actually hand over the token to Dr. Tyagi. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, there's one more piece, which is shawls for. I would want Harish to actually present this to Dr. Tyagi. Thank you, everyone.